The urban jungle of Seoul throbbed with life, neon lights painting the night sky with hues of excitement and possibility. For 17-year-old Junho, it was just another ordinary night. Or at least that's what everyone thought. Unbeknownst to them, their perception of normality was about to shatter. For weeks, Junho had been plagued by the same chilling nightmare. In his dreams, he'd find himself face to face with a looming shadow, its presence suffocating all hope of escape. This unsettling figure would whisper insistently, its voice echoing with urgency, "Set me free, and I will grant you power." Junho had always brushed it off as just a dream, a figment of his imagination. But dreams, they say, aren't just stories we tell ourselves while asleep. They are messages from the subconscious, warnings or omens that our waking minds ignore at our own peril. On this fateful night, as he made his way through the labyrinthine streets of Seoul, 3 menacing figures emerged from the gloom, blocking his path. Their faces were obscured by the shadows, their eyes gleaming with malice. These were no random thugs, they were gangsters, notorious for their violent streak. The ringleader, a hulking figure with a dragon tattoo snaking up his arm, sneered at Junho, his words dripping with scorn. Well, what do we have here? A lone wolf far from home? Looks like tonight you're gonna die." Fear gripped Junho's heart. His mind raced, desperately seeking an escape. But there was none. They cornered him in a narrow alley, the towering buildings casting long, menacing shadows around them. As the ringleader lunged, raising a gleaming knife, darkness seemed to swallow his vision. In that moment of impending doom, Junho felt a surge of raw terror. It was primal, consuming, and it echoed the fear he'd felt in his nightmares. Suddenly, deep within his chest, he heard that same insistent voice, "Say yes, make a deal with me, and you will live." Was it a trick of his desperate mind? Was he going insane? Junho couldn't be sure. All he knew was the choice he was about to make could mean the difference between life and death. Taking a shaky breath, he uttered the words that sealed his fate. "Fine, I accept." The world dissolved into a kaleidoscope of darkness, twisting and turning until it solidified into something new, something terrifyingly real. He could feel his skin crawling, his bones shifting, his entire being contorted into something inhuman. Looking down, he saw his hands, or what used to be his hands, now gnarled and clawed like those of some predatory beast. His eyes, once warm and brown, were now bottomless pits of darkness. And as he turned to face his tormentors, he saw not fear or remorse, but awe and wonder on their faces. They weren't afraid of him, they were mesmerized. One of them, emboldened by whatever power had befallen Junho, reached out to touch his transformed hand. In that instant, Junho felt a surge of energy course through him, the raw essence of their fear acting as a catalyst. The transformation was complete. The boy was gone, replaced by a creature of shadow and dread. As the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of dawn, the city of Seoul awoke to another day. But for Junho, the sun's gentle light was a torment. He'd forgotten what it was like to feel its warmth on his skin, to see the world in shades of color. Now his vision was confined to the shades of gray, the vibrant tapestry of life dulled into a monochromatic blur. He found himself drawn to the darkest corners of the city, hiding in the shadows, seeking solace in the darkness. But the shadows offered little comfort. They were filled with whispers, echoes of fear and despair that gnawed at his sanity. There was no peace here, only an unsettling quiet that pressed against his ears like a physical pain. In the solitude of his room, Junho looked at his reflection in the shattered shards of a mirror. The image that stared back at him was a horrifying mosaic of boy and beast. The left side of his face still held traces of his former humanity. The right was a mask of creeping shadows and malevolent crimson eyes. It was a constant reminder of the deal he'd struck, a visual manifestation of the darkness that now resided within him. And in those moments of self-loathing, he heard the voice that had become his tormentor. It chuckled, a sound like rocks tumbling down a dry well. "I am Arkin. From this moment, we are one. Power has a price, Junho. Are you willing to pay it?" Arkin had introduced himself as the entity that now shared his existence, the dark side of his being that fed on fear. And with that chilling introduction came the first lesson of their unholy pact. Days turned into weeks, each day a struggle for Junho to maintain his humanity. He started experiencing strange phenomena around him. Lights flickered erratically, electronics malfunctioned, and an unnatural chill clung to his touch. But the most disturbing change was the effect he had on others. People around him, especially those who knew him, reacted with inexplicable dread. Friends and acquaintances recoiled at his approach, their faces draining of color as if they could sense the encroaching darkness. Even his family, unaware of the darkness that had taken root in their son, seemed troubled by his presence. They couldn't explain it, but there was something about Junho that made them uncomfortable, something that made their smiles tighten and their eyes dart away. One night, amidst the cacophony of city sounds, Junho heard a scream that cut through the noise. It was a scream of pure terror, a sound that resonated with the darkest recesses of his soul. Junho felt a jolt, a recognition of kindred suffering. He knew that sound had felt its echo in his nightmares. It was the cry of someone consumed by fear, someone caught in the grip of a nightmare made real. He didn't know who it was, but he knew he had to help. Rushing to the window, he scanned the city, trying to pinpoint the source of the scream. In the distance, he saw a figure running, stumbling, pursued by something unseen. Junho felt a surge of adrenaline. He had to go, had to help. But where to start? He didn't know the victim, only that he had to do something. And that is when Arkan spoke, his voice a low growl in the recesses of Junho's mind. She is close, very close. Can you feel it, Junho? That delicious scent of terror? She is perfect prey. Junho felt a mix of emotions. Empathy for the victim, anger at his own helplessness, and a growing unease about the nature of his newfound powers. He didn't want to be a pawn in some greater game, but he also couldn't stand idly by while someone suffered. Fighting back the urge to flee, he engaged in a silent battle, wrestling for control. He had to make a decision, embrace the darkness within him, or try to resist it. The choice, as always, was his, but the consequences would affect them both. The power lay dormant within him, waiting for him to either wield it or reject it. And in that moment of agonizing choice, the fate of both boy and monster hung in the balance. Every story has its turning point, a moment when the narrative shifts, taking the reader on a new path. For Junho, that moment came when he decided to confront his inner darkness head-on. Rather than burying his head in the sand, pretending that the nightmare wasn't real, he chose to face it, to acknowledge the terrifying truth. In doing so, he began the arduous journey of reclaiming his humanity. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, a tightrope walk between light and darkness. But with each step, Junho proved his mettle. He faced his fears, embraced the pain, and refused to succumb to the whispers of despair. His journey was not just a battle against the monstrous entity within him, it was also a battle against the shadows in his soul. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the unyielding desire for hope, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. The story is far from over. Stay tuned for the next chapter in Junho's tale. Your support means the world to us. Do you want to forget to subscribe and leave a comment below with your thoughts on the story so far and any ideas you have for what might happen next? Together, we can keep this story alive and bring Junho's journey to even more readers. Thank you for watching and for being a part of this incredible community. See you soon.